What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and we all know, as it stands at the moment, in multiple different games across multiple different platforms, a big selling point for these games can be crossplay. Now, first off, what is crossplay? Well, crossplay is generally what is referred to as playing across a different platform. For example, if you're playing some random third party game, let's call it FIFA, for example. I don't know if FIFA supports crossplay. As far as I know, it doesn't. But let's just say you're playing FIFA on Xbox. If you had crossplay, you could, in theory, play online against people on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Switch. So that's generally what crossplay is. Many big games are starting to feature crossplay now. Microsoft has just announced a little while back that Minecraft will, one of the biggest games of all time, will have crossplay. It's going to have it between PC, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox. And of course, Rocket League is in there as well. PC, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox. Now, real quick, you may be wondering why Sony isn't getting in on this. Sony are generally saying no to the cross-play thing in general. But real quick, I just want to mention here that this isn't the focus of the video. The whole Microsoft and Sony, well, not just and Sony, but the whole Sony generally saying no to cross-play is not the focus of this video. And for the most part, I'm not going to comment on that because that's not what I want to talk about here. I wish you could have seen that. I was waving my hands at my computer and all. It was like, no, no, no. But okay, back to the actual point. So the point I want to talk about is crossplay for 98% of the time is nothing but a good thing. Because at the end of the day, as long as there's no severe performance issues and severe performance differences, you're literally just getting a bigger group of people to play with. Instead of being stuck on, these are just arbitrary numbers, but you get the point. If instead of being stuck on whatever is the current Call of Duty on your current platform of choice with only 500,000 players, I know, right? Only 500,000. But only being stuck on limited to one platform, you could be connected to 2, 3, or even 4 platforms, depending on the game, blah, blah, blah. And you could have access to now millions, if not tens of millions of players to play against. I realize it's not completely perfect and it doesn't work out in that way every single time. But at the end of the day, you're just getting more people to play with. Now, there are 1 or 2 exceptions. For example, Final Fantasy XIV, when you play on that, because for a while it supported PS3, PS4, and PC, the PS3 version was so unbelievably bad and unplayable, you could tell a PlayStation 3 player. For the simple reason is they would have loading times of over 60 seconds sometimes. They would have things not showing up. Their frame rate would not get anywhere near 30 frames per second, which means they couldn't dodge stuff properly, they couldn't react properly, and 99% of the time, why do I just throw it 99% of the time? But either way, the point is, you could always tell a PS3 player. Now, generally, there's bad players on all platforms, but you could always tell a PS3 player. And they eventually got phased out because the PS3 is no longer supported, but long, long before it was no longer officially supported in-game, the community of the game rejected the PlayStation 3 users. They would put up party finders with PC only, they would put them up with PS4 only, or PC or PS4 only. They would say no PS3 players, whatever. The point is the game was basically unplayable on PS3 as it was. I've tested the PS3 version. Absolutely dire, completely unacceptable, and completely unplayable. And the only reason it was released was because the Japanese business model, they had promised the PS3 version way back in like 2009, 2010, and they finally released it. Unfortunately, it was unplayable, and yeah, that's it. But for the most part, the point and the principle is what I've said already. Crossplay doesn't really add anything negative, because as long as there's no huge performance differences, you basically get the same type of experience on every platform. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm playing online, the last thing on my mind is, oh, I wonder what these people are playing on. I wonder if my team are playing on Xbox. I wonder if my team are playing on PlayStation. I wonder if my team are playing on Nintendo Switch or whatever. That's the last thing that I think of. Now, I don't think about my team in general, but the last thing I think about when I do think about whoever I'm playing with on my team is what fucking platform they're playing on. Because at the end of the day, they're online to fill up a slot to play this game the same way I am. Probably not as good as I am, but the same way I am. So you have people out there who are naturally advocating crossplay, which makes perfect sense. Because, now, let's get here. Someone is going to leave a comment in the section below, and they're going to say, oh, you're just mad, you can't play this, that, or whatever with PlayStation users, or with whoever users, or whatever game, or whatever. That's not the case whatsoever. I can play whatever I want, whenever I want, which is why I have everything. But that doesn't concern me. The fact is that the idea of crossplay is basically nothing but a positive. And I see people out there, like I said, who are advocating it, as they should. And I see people out there as well who are defending not having crossplay. So they are advocating that crossplay is a bad idea and a negative idea, which just absolutely blows my mind. Do you not like having more people to play with? Do you not like having your gaming communities be more wide, varied, have much more variety, and survive longer because there's a bigger pool of users to keep that game going over a longer period of time? You don't like that? What the fuck? So let me get this. Just make sure I have this understood properly. You want to be limited to a smaller potential player base in your games. You want the player base of your games to dry up sooner because there's only a smaller player base to maintain it, despite people getting bored, maybe moving on to a different game, taking a break, stop playing it because they're not enjoying it, whatever. You're okay with that and you're advocating that. And you are advocating your favorite third-party games have 1/10 of the player base than they could potentially have. Because, I mean, let's be real, with the numbers in sales out there across consoles and PC, sure, you might have, you might have 10 times as many people playing the game on PlayStation as Xbox, but, I mean, you've probably got millions more, or if not tens of millions more, on PC, all that you could be playing with at the same time. And just because I've said it a few more times, but someone's probably going to just completely ignore every time I've said it and just use it, try and use it against me, is that, once again, as long as there's no severe performance differences. Let me give you an example. Let's look at the upcoming Call of Duty World War II. Sure, on Xbox One, base Xbox One, not Xbox One X, they're targeting 60 frames per second. The frame rate will obviously be lower and it will vary a little bit, same with PlayStation 4, but overall, that performance is still roughly the same. And when you look at it on PC, sure, it's going to be 60, 100, 120, 144 frames per second, whatever. Now, the problem is that for games like this, 60 is considered the baseline, or at least it should be, but it realistically is, and anyone else who says so is wrong. But 60 is basically the baseline for these games, and the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 will strive to try get as close to 60 as often as possible. So it's relatively, in the console world at least anyway, it's relatively acceptable performance for them. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey. For example, if you were to factor in a Nintendo Switch port of Call of Duty World War II, which 1 is never going to happen, and 2 is never going to happen, followed by actually one extra third point is never going to happen. The point is that that game would be so gimped down to the 30 frames per second mark, if it was even lucky enough to stay there, that would be an unfair game to include in crossplay, because they just have too much of a disadvantage that it would hamper not only their experience, but first off, it would hamper kind of everyone's experience, because if you would get stuck on a team with a Nintendo Switch player, you have a handicap, and that can be a problem. That ruins your team's enjoyment. That will obviously ruin your enjoyment because you're playing a subpar version of the game against people with a far superior version of the game, which is just going to ruin your experience even more. That's a whole other story, and that's the kind of thing that we have to draw the line somewhere. So, again, crossplay is nothing but a good thing. If you say otherwise, you're a fanboy, with the exception of huge performance differences. Unacceptable performance differences. That's the best way I can say it. Now, let me know in the comment section below if you play any of the existing cross-play games. There's a couple already out there at the moment. Off the top of my head, there's is it Minecraft? No, not Minecraft. Street Fighter 5. There is, I think, Rocket League. There's a few others as well off the top of my mind that I can't really remember at the moment. Let me know if you play any of them. If you plan on playing any of the upcoming ones, like, again, Rocket League is getting a expanded support for crossplay. I couldn't remember the term for it there for a second, despite saying it a million times in the video. Yeah, Minecraft is getting it. We have Rocket League is getting the expanded version of it. There's some more games. There's a couple of developers who said that they have it running, that they're just not allowed to put it out because of certain companies not agreeing to it, etc. Let me know if you plan on playing any of the upcoming ones that will have it. Also, let me know if there's any games that you do want that have admitted they have crossplay running, but that a certain company will not allow them to use it yet. So let me know all of that in the comment section below, as well as your thoughts on crossplay in general. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.